We were in Toronto last week for some work with one of our corporate clients, and we were doing just finishing up doing days 3 and 4. And 3 and 4 are a pretty deep dive into the notion of our being and how our being impacts our ability to perform. One of my favorite parts of any workshop or any keynote is the in-between moments where people will come up, participants will come up during the breaks and tell you something, often quite personal, right? A personal story, or have a question, or what have you. And this one guy who's a sort of a dealership manager came up and he shared a story with me. And he said, you know, we've got this very large athlete who has just begun working at our dealership, and he's an ex-football player. He was playing Division I in the US. I forget what he said his size was. He was easily over 250 pounds, so large specimen. And just recently suffered a knee injury, and it was so bad that his career is over. He's now had to drop out of the university, and so he's going through a significant piece, right? Not only is he dealing with an injury, but he's dealing with a significant transition, right? Not just sort of how he spends his days, but who he is, his identity. I was a Division I football player. I was likely going down a path that would have taken me to professional football, the NFL, a significant salary, a life very different than perhaps what he had lived growing up. And now he's not, right? Now it's how am I going to find my way in the world selling cars? So this manager has been kind of working with this young fellow. And he asked him the other day, he said, if I were to have you run one of our morning meetings before we open up the shop, and I were to ask you to talk to your peers, to talk to the team, the same way your coach might talk to you at a practice or used to, how would that look? Like, what would that be like? And the young man said to this manager, he said, I'd never do that. And he said, well, how come? And he said, because I would just never speak to people that way. It was incredibly disrespectful and demeaning the way they used to talk to us. And I just kind of thought, wow, we are still, you know, we're still playing that game, right? We still have coaches out there in very high positions, Division I football, who still see psychological and emotional abuse as a viable tool to pull out and use in the name of motivation, right? It's 2024 and we still got that going on. And yeah, I mean, maybe I'm naive. Obviously I'm naive, but that just kind of blows me away. Given all the research, given everything that's online around performance and coaching and how to maximize performance, that we still have coaches who think pulling out a very large stick is the optimal way to inspire performance. Yeah, I just find that kind of shocking, actually. So I wanted to talk about it, and I guess I want to start with an invitation that if that describes you and your coaching, whew, man, where to start? Well, I think the gig's up. I think the clock's up. And I guess I would invite you to show me any sort of research that supports that kind of abuse as being an effective and sustainable long-term form of coaching, motivating, leading, what have you, right? It's just, there's so much research out there that debunks that sort of stick and carrot motivation. Yeah, it really is. I mean, forget about the emotional damage that you dump on those young men and women in the sports that you're coaching. But in terms of performance, it's just not. It's not going to hold. It's not going to hold up to what we know now regarding, you know, inspiring intrinsic motivation and how far that can take you. So I'm not going to get into a big lecture. I just think, you know, people rarely take advice, right? We are we like our autonomy. We like to figure things out on our own. And so I guess I would invite you to figure it out on your own and to do some research of your own and get your head and your body into 2024. And, this isn't, it isn't a time gone by. You should be long moved on from those days. Okay. If you have any questions, I would happy to chat. So just reach out and happy to do that. Okay. In the meantime, going to finish off our run here. It's beautiful. Great to be back on the West Coast, and Oakley and I are going to head home. So, okay. Take care of yourselves, share the love, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.